Imagine for a second that you are tasked with building a multi-hundred-million-dollar empire.
Okay, sounds like a lot of pressure.
Right. But here's the catch. You can't use technology, you can't sell a physical product, and you can't rely on a specific service.
So what are you selling?
Your entire foundation, like the concrete you are pouring to build this massive corporate skyscraper, is pure relentless positivity.
Oh, wow. Just vibes, basically.
Exactly. The dancing, the games, the tearful surprises for people in need, the absolute queen of nice.
Ah, I know exactly who we're talking about today.
Yeah. Today we are diving into how a bulletproof 19-year public image completely collapsed.
And it really was bulletproof for a long time.
It was. But we are unpacking how a carefully constructed facade cracks. And it's not from a single wrecking ball.
Right, it never is.
It's from a slow, steady accumulation of truth from people who simply refuse to play along anymore.
Which is such a fascinating psychological study.
It really is. So I want you, the listener, to keep a question in the back of your mind as we go through this deep dive. Think about the brands of the people around you in your own life.
Like the coworker who is always perfectly upbeat.
Exactly. Or the boss with the flawless reputation. Understanding how power protects itself in media is an incredible tool.
It really helps you spot the difference between authenticity and a performance in your everyday life.
So let's get into it, because the clues to this disconnect between performance and authenticity, they were hiding in plain sight for nearly 2 decades.
Broadcast to millions of viewers on a daily basis, yeah.
Right. The on-camera cracks were always there if you just knew how to look at the underlying mechanics of the interactions.
Yeah, let's talk about the 2008 Mariah Carey interview, because that is a perfect example.
Oh man, we all know that clip.
It's so uncomfortable to watch now. Mariah is secretly pregnant, unannounced, and clearly terrified to discuss it.
And Ellen aggressively pushes a tray of champagne on her.
Yes, she completely traps her on live television.
She literally says, "Let's toast to you not being pregnant."
And you can see a visibly panicked Mariah replying, "I can't believe you did this to me, Ellen."
Which is so heartbreaking, especially because we know that pregnancy sadly ended in a miscarriage shortly after.
Right, which just makes the coercion even darker in hindsight.
It really does. But I do have to play devil's advocate for just a second here.
Sure, go for it.
If you are a daytime talk show host, isn't pushing for a scoop just kind of part of the job description?
Well, yeah, to an extent.
Like, the entire industry runs on getting celebrities to reveal things they don't necessarily want to. So where is the line between being an entertaining, probing interviewer and being genuinely malicious?
That is a great question. And I think the line is drawn entirely by the power dynamic and the exit routes available to the guest.
The exit routes.
Yeah. A great interviewer creates an environment where a guest eventually wants to reveal something, right?
Sure.
Or at least they respect the journalistic sparring match.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what we saw in that 2008 clip wasn't an invitation to share. It was a trap.
Because the overarching niceness of the talk show's brand masked this highly calculated edge.
Exactly. A guest's vulnerability was exploited for content, pure and simple. It was a one-sided game where the guest had absolutely no graceful exit.
Right, because if Mariah gets angry and refuses, she looks like a spoiled diva ruining the fun, lighthearted daytime vibe.
And if she drinks, she violates her own medical and personal boundaries. She was stuck.
I mean, it's like a psychological escape room.
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it.
The walls are literally closing in on the guest, but the audience at home just thinks it's a fun, colorful game show.
Yeah, the audience's perception of the host's good intent completely isolates the guest.
That isolation is the key ingredient, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we saw this tactic repeatedly over the years.
Oh, yeah, like the resurfaced mid-2000s interview pressing a very fragile Britney Spears.
Oh, about her relationship with Justin Timberlake?
Yes. Britney's eyes are practically begging to change the subject, but the pressure is just relentless.
Or look at the deeply uncomfortable body language of Jade Thirlwall from Little Mix during that sudden invasive questioning.
You are watching a real-time war between a human being's natural fight-or-flight response and their intensive PR training.
Right. Their training is screaming at them to keep smiling because the host has the power to tank their album sales.
Exactly. But the psychological escape room only functions if the guest is terrified of the host's power.
Which most of them were.
Right. But the moment someone walks onto that set who simply doesn't fear the consequences.
The walls just evaporate.
Exactly. Which is exactly why the legendary 2019 Dakota Johnson birthday party clash completely dismantled the illusion.
Oh my gosh, Dakota Johnson completely broke the script in that moment.
She really did. So the host jokingly claims she wasn't invited to Dakota's recent birthday party.
Right, leaning into that familiar, playful guilt trip bit that works on literally 99% of celebrities.
But Dakota doesn't do the expected nervous laugh.
No, not at all.
She just looks deadpan and calmly replies, "Actually, you were invited and you didn't come."
The silence after she said that was deafening.
It was amazing. I actually have a working theory on why Dakota was the one to finally break the machinery.
Oh, let's hear it.
You have to look at her background. She is Hollywood royalty.
Right, the daughter of Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson.
Exactly. She literally grew up eating breakfast with studio executives. She knows exactly what a manufactured performance looks like.
So she isn't intimidated by the lights or the audience at all.
Exactly. She used a sort of polite judo to flip the host's immense power right back against her.
Polite judo, that perfectly describes the mechanics of that interaction.
Right. Because she didn't storm off the set, she didn't raise her voice.
She just held her ground with a gentle smile, making the host look incredibly small by simply stating a verifiable fact.
A fact that totally contradicted the manufactured narrative.
Yeah, when someone has built an empire on absolute control of the narrative, the most disruptive weapon you can use against them is a neutral, emotionless fact.
And you can see it work. The host actually scrambles, looking off camera to her producers to save her.
Because the power dynamic had instantly inverted.
By staying completely neutral, Dakota removed the host's ability to play the victim.
Right, if Dakota had gotten defensive or angry, the host could have weaponized the audience against her.
But instead, the polite judo exposed the gears of the machine to everyone watching.
And that on-camera moment was a highly visible fracture, but it was really just a reflection of what the Whisper Network had been talking about off-camera for years.
Right, the Whisper Network always knows first. But why did it take so long? To understand why almost no one dared speak out publicly before that, we really have to look at the financial mechanics.
The syndication mechanics of daytime television are massive.
Yeah, this specific talk show wasn't just a fun stop on a press tour. It was a massive economic engine.
The power was highly quantifiable.
An appearance could move tens of thousands of albums in a single afternoon.
Or it could guarantee a massive opening weekend for a blockbuster film just by reaching that crucial demographic of suburban viewers.
So crossing the host was professionally devastating.
Oh, absolutely. Your studio publicist would warn you not to cause friction.
Because being blacklisted from that stage meant losing access to millions of consumers.
Which completely highlights why the few voices that did speak out early on share a very specific structural independence.
Right. They didn't need the machine. Like Wendy Williams.
Yes, Wendy Williams is a prime example. She repeatedly called out this whole nice image as a completely constructed facade.
She famously stated that 19 years on TV doesn't change your life. It exposes you for the person that you really are.
Which is such a powerful quote.
But Wendy could only say that because she owned her own real estate, essentially.
She operated on a completely different network with her own deeply loyal audience in a different lane of daytime television.
She didn't need that specific host's approval, and she didn't need to appease the same corporate sponsors.
You can only call out the king if you don't live in the castle.
Exactly. And we saw the exact same structural dynamic, just translated for a new generation, with Nikki DeJager.
Oh, Nikki Tutorials.
Yeah, in 2020. Nikki had just gone through a highly traumatic, publicized blackmail situation regarding her trans identity.
Right, a really vulnerable time for her.
And she is invited onto the show, which brands itself as the ultimate safe space of warmth and acceptance.
But Nikki later reveals the experience was the polar opposite.
She found a cold, unwelcoming backstage environment where she felt completely invisible.
It's like going to Disney World looking for some magic and accidentally walking into the employee break room.
Oh, that is such a good analogy. The illusion dies the second you see Mickey Mouse smoking a cigarette and complaining about his shift.
Exactly. Nikki was brought in during an incredibly vulnerable moment, ostensibly to be embraced by the Queen of Nice.
But the mechanics backstage were entirely transactional.
And Nikki had the leverage to speak out for the exact same reason Wendy Williams did.
Because Nikki built her massive empire on YouTube algorithms.
She bypassed traditional Hollywood gatekeeping entirely.
She didn't owe her success to studio executives or daytime syndication deals.
which meant the traditional threats of blacklisting were completely empty against her. What are they going to do? Take away her YouTube channel?
Right, they had no power over her. But this brings up something much deeper than just a cold green room or celebrity beefs.
Yeah, there's a profound ideological cost to corporate success that gets ignored here.
It wasn't just that the environment was cold. It was about who was deliberately left behind once this host gained immense power.
Look at the long-standing feud with Kathy Griffin.
Yeah, Kathy wasn't just complaining about a personal snub. She was making a deep political critique.
About who gets to belong in safe, palatable television.
Kathy repeatedly argued that the host gave the cold shoulder to edgier, louder, less palatable gay voices once she found corporate acceptance.
They had a fundamental disagreement over the legacy of Joan Rivers.
Right. Kathy believed Joan was a trailblazing genius. Someone who did the dirty work, punching up and breaking the glass ceiling for women in talk shows.
But the host's stance was simply that Joan was mean.
She opted instead for a highly sanitized, sponsor-friendly brand of humor.
Leah Delaria echoed this exact same critique, actually.
Yeah, she noted that profound authenticity was traded for mainstream access.
Imagine you are part of a marginalized community, building a network in the trenches, fighting for every single inch of visibility.
And then one of you finally breaks through to the absolute top of the corporate mountain.
But instead of throwing a rope down to help the others, you watch them pull the ladder up behind them.
Smoothing out all their rough edges to keep middle America and corporate sponsors happy.
The Be Kind mantra wasn't just a catchy slogan. It was actively used as a weapon of exclusion.
It was a coded way of saying, if you are messy, if you are loud, if you remind the mainstream of the actual struggle,
You don't fit our brand.
it is the ultimate ideological cost of corporate media. To be embraced by everybody, you often have to stand for very little.
The brand just became a sterile vacuum that rejected anything resembling actual human complexity.
But a house with a cracked foundation and a sterile interior will eventually collapse under its own weight.
Outsiders can critique the facade all they want, but the structural failure always happens from the inside.
Which brings us to the summer of 2020.
Yeah, this is when the Whisper Network finally hit the printing press.
A massive journalistic expose drops. Dozens of former employees completely exposing a deeply embedded culture of fear.
And we aren't just talking about a demanding boss here.
Not at all. Staffers reported being heavily penalized for taking time off to attend family funerals.
Or to deal with acute personal medical crises. It was brutal.
But the detail that permanently broke the public's perception.
Oh, the eye contact rule.
Yes. The notorious unwritten rule that lower-level staff were reprimanded for simply making eye contact with the host in the hallways.
The irony there is staggering if you think about it.
You have a television show marketed and built entirely around the concept of profound human connection.
The host literally dances with the audience, cries with the guests, and preaches kindness to millions.
Yet, the actual humans turning the gears of that machine, producing that illusion day in and day out,
are forbidden from making basic eye contact.
It is simulated intimacy demanding complete subservience.
And once that investigation dropped, the dam broke completely.
The traditional crisis PR playbook completely failed.
You watch the season 18 premiere, the highly anticipated apology episode, and it is a fascinating case study.
A case study in why you cannot PR your way out of an authenticity gap.
It felt like a panicked corporate rebranding exercise rather than a genuine reckoning.
Well, traditional crisis PR relies on the audience giving a celebrity the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah, the standard move is to separate the action from the person. Like, this was a mistake, this isn't who I am.
But in this case, the negative behavior being exposed was the direct antithesis of the core product being sold.
Exactly. When your entire brand is, I am the nicest person in the world, and the overwhelming evidence shows you operate a regime of fear.
The resulting apology will always feel hollow.
The public was finally seeing the massive chasm between the on-screen persona and the off-screen reality.
A well-lit monologue couldn't bridge that gap. The magic trick was totally ruined.
You cannot watch a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat if you are actively watching them shove the rabbit into a secret compartment.
The show limped on for a bit, but the era was basically over.
Yeah, in 2022, the plug was officially pulled.
It was framed publicly as a creative decision, a claim that the format just wasn't a challenge anymore.
But the reality was undeniable.
The dancing stopped, the set went dark, and the empire quietly folded.
Synthesizing this entire 19-year timeline, the most remarkable takeaway is that the fall of this daytime empire was not a coordinated takedown.
No, there was no secret cabal of celebrities and disgruntled staff members plotting to ruin a reputation.
Right, Mariah Carey wasn't coordinating with Dakota Johnson, who certainly wasn't texting a backstage lighting technician.
It was a slow, inevitable accumulation of truth from dozens of entirely unconnected people who all shared one essential experience.
Massive corporate machinery, like the network deals, the advertisers, the PR teams, they can protect a toxic culture for a very long time.
But it simply cannot outrun a persistent, daily pattern of behavior.
The data points always connect eventually.
The truth seeps through the cracks no matter how much money you spend trying to caulk them.
Which is a pretty heavy lesson.
It is, and it leaves a final provocative thought to mull over today.
What's that?
We live in an era where everyone is curating a personal brand online. We all have our own little PR machines in our pockets, projecting the best, most palatable versions of ourselves to the world.
That's very true.
But based on the absolute impossibility of faking a persona for 2 decades, is longevity actually the greatest threat to a carefully manufactured image? If you stay in the spotlight long enough, if you leave the cameras rolling year after year, is it inevitable that the world will eventually see exactly who you are?
That is something to think about.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the narratives you were sold, look for the cracks in the facade, and we'll see you next time.